What happens when a CEO starts receiving poetry at 3 a.m.? When grief cracks open a portal to something beyond what we can see? When the pressure of success becomes so heavy that you have to choose, keep performing or finally become whole? Today's guest didn't just have a spiritual awakening. She integrated it into every boardroom, every business decision, every part of her life. And what she discovered will change how you see leadership, presence, and your own untapped power. Welcome back to Awaken Your Authentic Self. I'm Jessica Rooks, and this is your sacred space for soul-led conversations that help you rise into your fullest expression. If you're new here, welcome. We gather every week to explore the courage it takes to live authentically, to trust your intuition, and to bridge the spiritual with the strategic. This isn't surface level inspiration. This is the deep work of becoming whole. And today, oh friends, this conversation is going to land in your soul. I am so honored to welcome Sara Byers, a woman who embodies what it means to bring your whole self into every room you enter. Sara is the CEO of Leonardo's Pizza, a business she's led with her family for decades. She's chaired multiple corporate and nonprofit boards, been appointed by governors to state initiatives, and received an honorary doctorate from Champlain's College. But here's what makes Sara's story so extraordinary. In 2020, after the passing of her stepfather, something cracked open. She began receiving channeled poetry in the middle of the night, words that poured through her before dawn. She's since published 2 poetry collections, Heart and Moon and Wise Stars. She co-hosts the Collecting Insight podcast, speaks to thousands, and now guides people through what she calls present sessions, a space where intuition, strategy, and soul converge. Sara's mission is to lighten the burdens we all carry so we can live with more joy, fulfillment, and connection. She believes that if we want a world that is whole, we must first find the courage to be whole ourselves. Sara, welcome to the show. I am so grateful that you are here.
Oh my goodness, Jessica, thank you. I am thrilled to be here, and your words really touch my heart. My goodness. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for sharing in such a beautiful way who I am.
Well, your story is absolutely beautiful, and it's extraordinary, and I can't wait to jump into this. Sara, you've described your stepfather's passing in 2020 as an experience that opened your eyes to an entire world beyond that which we see. Can you take us into that moment? What specifically shifted for you, and how did grief become a doorway rather than just a wound?
Such a good question. So I was, my stepfather passed away in 2020. And prior to that, I was living a really busy life. I didn't even really notice, though. I was, as you mentioned, CEO of my family's business. I think I was serving on probably 8 boards, a couple of state councils. Wow. I was a mom to a daughter who was a teenager, and was just always on the go. I would give speeches. I was just always on the go. And my stepfather, who was a senator actually here in my state and someone I really looked up to, developed Alzheimer's. And what was interesting was that, you know, growing up, he and my mom married when I was young, when I was a teenager. And he was a lawyer and someone I looked up to so much for his brilliance, but sometimes he and I was competitive because I had anxiety for a long time. I didn't necessarily feel that I was worthy. And so we didn't have a contentious relationship, but there was always a bit of tension there until he developed Alzheimer's. And he had it for about 11 years. And towards the end, I would start to feel him in ways that I really couldn't describe at the time. I would be sitting at my office and just feel this magnetic pull. I would just know that I was supposed to go over to their house and see them. I remember the last time I went over, it was actually going to be the last day he was at his house. And I just felt this beauty between the two of us. I now believe that he and I were meeting in spirit. I saw in him something I hadn't yet recognized in myself. And that day, he was moved to a respite house, and he was there for 12 days. And my mom was there all the time, and I would drive back and forth about 20 minutes between the respite house and then coming home at night to be with my husband and daughter. And during that drive, I would listen to the instrumental from the Titanic movie.
Oh,
And that
wow.
sounds really ominous, but I wanted to feel that moment. I wanted to feel his spirit, and that music helped me do it.
There's a lot of energy in that song.
Yeah, there really is. It's so beautiful. It was really a special few days. My stepfather passed away beautifully with my mom on one side and me on the other. And I drove home that evening, and I pulled onto my street and said, okay, it's now time for that music to be done. So I turned on my radio to the Lumineers and their song Ophelia, and that was what my radio screen said. But that was not the music that started coming through my speakers.
I have goosebumps.
It was Frank Sinatra's My Way.
Oh,
And it said, and now the end is near, so I face the final curtain. And I sat in front of the garage, the music blaring in my ears, tears streaming down my face, because I could feel my stepfather, Harvey, in the exact same way, only amplified tenfold.
Right.
I knew it was him. And over the next couple of weeks, I heard Hobby. I called him Hobby. I heard him in my dreams. I heard him one night. He came to me and said that he was with my mom in the kitchen. And the next day I told my mom, and she said, yesterday was the first day I made dinner for myself.
wow.
And I knew this was something, but it logically didn't make sense to me. But I started to look into what this could mean and look into what energy was. And over the course of that year, I became Reiki certified just to feel energy or spirit. My mom, who's a scientist, was reading a ton of books on death and the afterlife. And there was this one medium that really resonated with her. And this medium had an 8-month waiting list. But I bought my mom a gift and got her a session with her on Christmas Eve of that same year. And my mom got on the phone with this medium in Arizona. We're in Vermont. And the woman said, there is a gentleman here, and he is singing. Does Frank Sinatra's My Way mean anything to you?
Wow.
And that was the moment that everything changed.
Yeah.
Because there was no denying what I really knew to be true in my heart.
Wow.
And I thank him every day for the gift that he has given me over the last 5 years.
That is absolutely beautiful. And when I say goosebumps on goosebumps, I completely get it. Because with the passing of my second husband, I experienced something very, very similar.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, laying in his room while he was in hospice, and he hadn't spoken a word in a month and couldn't speak. He was literally, as the doctors had said, breathing once every 45 seconds, basically gone. But I heard him calling me at 3 a.m., calling me to his bedside, as clear as if you and I are speaking right now.
Yes.
And smelling his cologne at the same time while knowing he wasn't wearing any. So I completely,
amazing.
it is amazing how they, and not for nothing now, we actually do communicate even while he's been gone for 5 years. We've found a way. So it does teach you something about yourself and energy, and it does kind of crack you open a little, like you said.
Yeah, well, and it gives you, I mean, what I can feel your story as well. it gives you such an extraordinary sense of not only peace, but the universal sense of all of us and the connection we all have beyond what we see. And that to me is one of the greatest gifts of my life.
Absolutely.
To know that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's so beautiful.
Well, thank you for sharing yours.
Yeah.
Now, you say you began receiving poetry in the night. Words that came through you before dawn. For someone who spent 20 years as a CEO in the tangible world of business, how did you navigate the vulnerability of trusting something so intangible? What would you say to someone who's receiving their own messages but is afraid that they're just making this up?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I was right there with you. It was so wild. And I will say that I always, I mentioned that I gave speeches before all this happened. And I was always known as a great speaker. And I think the reason is I would write it all, and then I would memorize it. But the writing would happen in flow. So that I remember I gave a 16-minute college commencement speech, and I literally wrote it in 10 minutes because it just arrived through me. And as I didn't really know it then. I think I called it flow, but I didn't really understand. But now, when I was starting to receive words in the middle of the night, it was a little bit scary at first because the words that were coming through were not words that I used in my normal life, at least initially. They would be words like hearken. And I'm like, I don't say hearken. But they were so powerful in what they communicated about my life, my journey, and our collective journey, the world, the universe, all that is invisible around us. And so I'm so glad that, so to anyone who is experiencing this, at any time, I would say, at any time when things pop into your head and you almost you don't know what to do because it keeps coming back.
Right.
Is to write it down, because I finally put a bedside notebook on the side of my bed because I was like, it would run through as a ticker tape over and over and I couldn't get back to sleep. And then it would just keep coming and coming and coming. And these words have been my, for lack of a better word, I don't love it, but awakening to a certain degree.
Right.
Not only was it initially a way to work through some of the hard things that I felt, some of the things that we all carry within our bodies. I said I suffered with anxiety. It was pretty significant. I dropped out of college because of it. It sort of helped me work through a lot of the stories that I had told myself. And it was incredibly therapeutic and now really serves as the catalyst. I believe that I am almost a channel for communication that needs to happen more broadly or that wants to happen more broadly. So what is great is that, you can feel that you are kind of losing your mind at first. And I hid this for a very long time, but it kept happening. And so eventually I was like, I can't hold all of this for me. This isn't meant for just me. Like, I know it's not. And so I created an Instagram page, which at the time I would post one of the poems per day because I'm like, at least I'm getting it out there. But I didn't tell anyone. So, I posted it anonymously. In this community where I live, I have name and reputation, and obviously I'm in the business community, and I chair a college board. I chaired the board of the Vermont Business Roundtable, which is a group of 120 CEOs. I'm like, how in the world does this integrate with that? So what I would say to anyone is follow it. This is happening for a reason. It could be songs in your head or words in your head or visions in your head or the download of a business idea. None of that is inconsequential.
It is not
It is
random.
you. No, it's you tapping into, to me, universal consciousness and almost pulling it into this world in such a beautiful way. And while it might take time to have the courage to show others, or the courage to integrate it into other parts of yourself, it has been given to you, and it's a gift for you. So try not to push it away.
Can I just say right now, first of all, I have tears in my eyes. And I will share part of the reason why. Because as much as this podcast for me has always been about bringing information to the listeners and to the collective as a whole, you've literally just spoken to me. I just shared with you before we came on how she was to be my soon to be mother-in-law had passed recently. And we've been in her house since, I want to say the 21st of November. And over the last couple of days, I keep getting woken up at 5 a.m. with something that it doesn't go away. It will not go away. And the other day, for the first day, I got up and wrote down what it said, went back to bed. As soon as I went back to bed, because it wouldn't stop. It kept repeating. So I laid down, and then something else behind it came, and it kept repeating. So I got up, and after the fourth time, I said, I can't keep waking him up, So I stayed in the living room and wrote 3 pages.
Yes.
And
my gosh.
it just needed to come out. And it's like you said, like a song in your head. Like I always woke up with songs in my head. And until I listen to the song and hear the words and realize what the meaning behind it is for, it will not go away.
Oh my gosh. Jessica, that is so amazing. And I don't know that I have ever encountered someone who described it quite like you did, which is exactly how it happened. When you say there was something, you put your head down on the pillow and there would be something behind it and you'd get up. That is exactly it. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful thing that you're receiving.
So yeah, I'm in the middle of it right now. And I woke up this morning with a whole other paragraph that just had to come out as soon as I was like, so I'm going through it right now. And I keep I'm already like, okay, how am I supposed to share this? But I have a feeling I know how.
Yes.
I'm just going to work with it a little, but wow, I didn't mean to get into that with myself.
Okay, no. See, this is what I
you.
love. I
Wow.
love that. This is
Confirmation for me.
Well, and these types of conversations they're both of us.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Nothing is incidental. So the fact that we're sort of meeting in this way and listening and supporting each other as we have a conversation is so powerful. And I can't wait to see what these words become for you, because it is absolutely with intention. I can feel that.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
I know. If you were talking, I was like, again with the goosebumps, but this time there are tears too. So.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Now, Sara, you've said, I gotta keep going here. You said that pressure isn't just stress, it's something deeper. You trace it back to separateness as the hidden cause behind why so many high performers feel weighed down even when they look successful. Can you unpack what you mean by separateness and how presence becomes the antidote?
Thank you for that. Yeah. I had no idea what separateness meant 10 years ago. But I went through my life after I dropped out of college. I felt, because my identity had been wrapped around being smart. Like I thought that I was smart, and like my sister was the pretty one. I hate this now. And I was the smart one. Like I actually believed
identity
that.
roles.
And yeah. And so once I had dropped out of college, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not smart. So I have got to pretend to be something. And I started working for The Gap and Banana Republic around the country, actually, for about 12 years before I moved home to join my family's business. But my achievement was insatiable. Because it did not matter what I achieved. It didn't matter that I was the CEO or that you mentioned I was awarded an honorary doctorate. It didn't matter that I was asked to do this or that. It would feel good for a few days and then it would be done, and I would need to feel something else to feel worthy again. And about 6 months before my stepfather passed, a sister of mercy, Sister Janice Ryan, here in Vermont, who was a powerhouse. She was the commissioner of corrections. She oversaw a college here. She was a real justice advocate. And I didn't know her well, but I would see her like maybe twice a year at community events, and we would exchange pleasantries. And she called me one day in December of 2019 and said, I need to speak with you urgently. And I called her back and she said, you have been coming up in my prayers for the last couple months. And so I just thought that you needed some additional blessings. But over the last few weeks, you've been coming up morning, noon, and night. And I feel the need to ask you, is there something in your life that you are not paying attention to?
Wow.
And I had no idea. I was like, well, Sister Janice, I'm really busy, but I'm happy. I'm great. Our daughter's great. Business is good. I feel like I'm, making a difference in the community. But I got off the phone with her and I went to see my doctor because I'm like, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with me health-wise?
Right.
My doctor said, you're fine. And then my stepfather passed away and I learned exactly what she meant. Because I was running through life separate from my actual self, separate from my spirit, separate from my soul, because I grew up believing that I needed to be something different than just myself,
Right.
that myself wasn't really good enough. So I needed to set her aside and just try to be what I thought I was supposed to be or what I thought everyone expected me to be. And once I started to sink into myself through the words that would come through, I also took a step away from the day-to-day of our business in 2021. Really sitting with myself, I was able to discover what wholeness truly means. And it is not discarding the parts of life that you do engage in, whether that's business or profession or creative or boards or community. It's about reminding yourself who you are at the depth of your soul and bringing that into it. And that to me is what presence gave me. So sitting with myself with no purpose, but to just see myself and feel myself allowed me to become whole again.
I always say that's one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself every single day is just be present.
Oh my gosh.
Just be present. Don't focus on, everything that's meant to happen is going to happen.
Yes.
And everything that's already happened for a reason.
Yes.
So if you can just remain present and allow yourself to just be, you'd be so surprised at those 3 or 5 a.m. messages that decide to come through, right? Because
it's so beautiful because and there are some challenges there can be to living in the present. Like I don't have as strong of a memory as I used to have because but the present becomes so big, and I love Bosma St. John. I don't know if you know who she is, but
no.
she said she was repeating a quote from someone else, but she is like a former chief marketing officer for Netflix and Uber and Apple Music. But she said, I want to live life. I want to live the width of life, not the length. And to me, that means presence. It means in this moment with you, Jessica, I am so enormously grateful to have this chance and to feel into all of what this moment is, with snow trickling down behind me, the beauty of you and what you're sharing, like the glory of being alive at this moment. that to me is what presence has become. It is truly every unique moment trying to hold the width of it. And that to me is infinite. The width is infinite. So I love what you said.
I love what you just said.
Thank
And
you.
this now brings me to your presence sessions. In your presence sessions, you say, listen beneath the words and feel the energy of what wants to emerge. Can you share an example of a pattern you've helped someone see that completely shifted their path?
Yeah, it's interesting because through presence sessions, I work with many individuals, but there is one one thread that comes often, and that is people who are sort of at a crossroads or a threshold. And what I often see is this sort of not discord, dissonance, I guess, between the head and the heart. So, this desire, this feeling that there is more that is not able to be articulated, or a feeling that there's something that you want to do, but it doesn't feel rational. And I feel so grateful for the opportunity to serve as a reflection for those individuals and to hear them in a way that they may not be able to hear themselves at that juncture. Because just like Sister Janice called me and knew somehow what I was needing, now I feel that I can offer that to others because I can now feel and read energy. So I just like when the words come through, it's sort of like an energy that comes first that I'm translating into words.
Right.
And that is what I now feel with other people. I also can feel it with people that are on the other side and translate communication that way. But with people in my present sessions, I'm hearing beneath the words because I am feeling the energy around a person, which is so grand and so much larger than any of us realize. And we wonder, you get a feeling about someone before they start talking.
Right.
Those are the things that I get excited about diving into because to me, there's truly unlimited information within that field that surrounds all of us. And if I can help someone reflect that back, it often means that they feel the courage, the impetus, the excitement around what they know is their next step, what they know they have been gifted. So it is a true honor for me to sit in those spaces. There's almost nothing I like more than feeling the beauty that surrounds each of us.
Right.
And so I love those moments. So thank you for asking about them.
Oh, that's beautiful. One of the things that came about with after my awakening also was that draw to energy healing. And it started just because people just started, they were just drawn to me, and random people in the street would just come over and start asking me questions about the universe and about spirituality and things that I'm like, do I have something tattooed on my forehead that I don't know? But I always had a response for them.
Wow.
So as I spoke to my mentor about it, she says, you are probably meant to be an energy healer and you should look into it. And I did, and also became certified Reiki master. And I actually, through my sessions, I end up channeling messages.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it is such a beautiful experience for me as well as for them. For me, at first, I thought I was crazy because
Well, no, right.
I didn't know. I didn't know that someone was actually trying to communicate through me, because to me, the message didn't make sense. And I realized afterwards it's not supposed to make sense to me.
Oh, what a gift. And it's such a beautiful gift. It's amazing when you start being sort of reflected the way that you were out in the community with people who just recognize you just by virtue of the energy that now surrounds you. And for you to lean into, I believe, the capacity that we all carry, but that we learn from each other. See, for you to recognize and be brave enough to share those channeled messages is pretty significant, Jessica, because I think oftentimes we discard, and then sort of that spigot turns off because we're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to say that,
Right.
and so then the spigot turns off, whereas you opened it up, and it's giving so much beauty, love, and peace to people who visit you for sessions. That is extraordinary.
I felt like I had to be open to it. And the reason being is because like my awakening happened 2022. And I remember it was on my birthday, which was 2/22/22.
Oh,
There was a
wow.
huge new moon manifestation portal. And I went out that night, and not only did I manifest my partner, but I was manifesting the rest of my life. And I just literally said, I just want you to remove anything out of my life that no longer serves me. And whatever you want to come in or come through me, I will just be open to, and I will accept it as truth.
Wow.
And after that, it was weird because things started falling off. I had a horrible caffeine habit. I used to drink alcohol. I used to eat meat. And within 6 months, I was caffeine free, no longer drinking, no longer, and I was a vegetarian. And then the next thing you know, I was drawn to crystals and started making jewelry with crystals, and people were buying them off of me, telling me, oh my God, I feel energy from your crystals. And it was just this whole, like this one after another things happening that just put me in a position. I mean, even with the podcast, I was on someone's podcast who he was my Reiki teacher, and he says, I want you to be on my podcast. I was like, I've never done this before. And then after that, I kept getting messages to start my own. And then he even called me and says, you need to start your own. And to me, my messages come in three. And all my listeners know my messages come in threes.
Oh, I love it.
Once or twice, I'm
Yes.
like, 3 times, I'm like,
Yes.
all right, it's meant for me.
Oh my gosh. I feel like Oprah taught me that a long time ago. I'm like, once it gets to the third, I'm like, I need to listen. And, again, just to emphasize that point that you're making, because we get these breadcrumbs, like we get breadcrumbs throughout life. And I don't think I paid attention to them for a long time.
Neither did I.
But I know that they were coming. I just didn't see them. And the more you can recognize those breadcrumbs, it brings you down a path that you could never have expected, because you probably 5 years ago would have been like, I'm not going to host a podcast. Like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean?
Who wants
Right.
to listen? I'm like, I don't have an MD behind my name or a PhD or anything D. I'm just Jessica.
Oh,
But
right.
I have a lot of life experience, a lot of trauma I overcame, a whole lot of everything else that made me stronger and didn't make me a victim or make me weaker. And to me, there's strength in knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, and I often wonder to myself, is this sort of state of being able to see those breadcrumbs and to see oneself? I'm 53 years old, and so I'm like, is that just something that happens with age, or is it something that is available before? But I think as I look at my daughter, I think it is something that's could be available to anyone. It's not just sort of moving through life experience, because I often talk about life as sort of being born this unencumbered, beautiful soul. And then through sort of the first half of life, gaining layers through experience and acquisition and stuff and accomplishments and suffering. And so that you get sort of to the top half of the circle, and then you start delayering and throwing all the stuff that you'd accumulated off until you land sort of at your passing, perhaps very similar to how you were at birth.
I also feel like it seems to be almost generational, because I feel like people like me, like now I'm 58. So mine happened a few years ago. You 2020,
Yes.
you're in your 50s as well. And a lot of the people I've been interviewing, it's like our awakenings seem to have been happening later in life, like we needed to go through all the experiences that we did
Yeah.
to bring us to where we are. But it seems like now a lot of these children are being born woke, for lack of a better word.
Right. I know.
And they're coming and they're remembering,
Yes.
and they don't,
Yes.
it's, I feel like we're kind of leading the way to make it okay for them to just be who they are from the beginning.
Oh my God. I love that. You know, I haven't really thought about it through that frame. And I love it because my daughter looks at me with the epiphanies that happen to me. And she's like, yeah, I know. I yes, Mom. We like kind of like, yeah, like, isn't that just normal? The things that you're saying.
Exactly. That's my
So,
youngest son as well. Absolutely.
and you're just like, but the fact, I love the beauty of it and the idea that we are externalizing it in a way that will allow them to be whole. That we are, you know, bringing it into the boardroom, which is kind of funny when that happens. But I do bring it into the boardroom and bring it into profession and bring it into business so that they don't have to kind of struggle through in the same way that we did.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because you chair boards, run a business, and you guide souls. How do you navigate spaces where spiritual language isn't welcomed? Do you ever code switch, or have you found a way to bring this work into every room?
So good. Such a good question. I was really hesitant to do this for a very long time. And eventually, the stronger that you get in it, it's almost like the other things could fall aside, but this is not. So I got to this point where I'm willing to lose the boards and the reputation because this is who I am. But what has astounded me, and I happily share with everyone so that they are encouraged to be themselves, is that the more I would talk about like the poetry and the words and my Instagram page, which is Dear Joy Love, with CEOs, philanthropists, political leaders, I was stunned by the number of people who resonate with this.
Beautiful.
I would say 95% of them, maybe even higher, but no one is talking about it.
Right.
And so to me, the more that sort of people were involved in this world of mine, the more I could be out with it. So, you know, what that meant for me was, you know, when I was chairing the Vermont Business Roundtable, I woke up one morning and felt like I was supposed to share one of my poems. Now, no one knew at that juncture that I even wrote poetry.
Right.
And I knew I'm the third female chair in the organization's history. And so starting the annual meeting with a poem might be
Weird for them?
scary, courageous move on my part.
Yeah,
and,
courageous for you, weird for them. Right? That's what
yes.
your thought is.
And I did. And what was so surprising to me was that the female CEOs came up to me and said, "Oh my God, that was so courageous. Like, oh my gosh, that's amazing." And many of the men in the room texted me to say, "I write too. I write poetry too." And
I
so,
love that.
I mean, it's amazing. And for me now, it is, you know, chairing a board and someone comes up and I can feel their energy and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I'm hearing based on what you're saying. Like, I am this.
Right.
I had a conversation this morning with something else a board I chair. And I'm just like, you're going to get the business and energy perspective right now because I love that intersection because
Yes.
what I believe as I look at leaders is that leaders are almost always using intuition. We call it gut instinct, but as leaders, we have to make decisions without all of the information. We have data that looks at the past. We can't see the future. So we're all trusting something beyond ourselves. And for me, it's just a matter of naming it. And so I haven't had to switch who I am. It's all of me. And what's surprising is I think people often see you before you see yourself. So I don't think this has come as much of a shock as it has been to me.
Right.
I think other people have always felt beneath my words.
I love that.
Yeah.
My listeners, anyone who's listened knows that I just very recently left my corporate job of 16 years. And that was
Wow.
right after Labor Day, actually. I handed in my resignation.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I just, for years, I had anywhere between 28 and 52 employees at one time. And I allowed my employees the freedom of creativity. I said, so long as you're following SOP and policy, I don't care how you do things because everyone's an individual. I spoke to them as individuals. I would go in, I'm a hugger. They'd see me, Jessica, and they would hug me. And my bosses would come in, after with me or something. And they're like, you hug your employees? They hug me also. Like this is what they look forward to and this is what they respond to. And I led from a heart-centered place. And it wasn't until this past year that from the beginning of the year, we got a new manager and I felt like she was slowly pushing me out. Like everything was a problem. Everything I said was incorrect. I couldn't speak my truth in the way that I was used to speaking with my old manager. And it just got to a point where I honestly felt like Spirit was telling me, like, your time there is done. Like, there is nothing more you can do. And you need to just work with your podcast and follow your heart and do what's meant for you. The minute I left, I couldn't get an interview to save my life before. The minute I left and I relocated, we sold off everything and we moved to Spain.
Wow.
I was done with everything that had all the materialism. A whole walk-in closet worth of everything. I say it all the time, the fancy cars, everything went.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, I love it.
I live out of a suitcase, complete minimalist. With that, the floodgates opened.
Yeah.
And everything started coming to me and everything was coming easily and everything is falling into place and everything is just like it's meant to be. So there was the difference where I'm so glad to hear that they are welcoming the language and they're embracing you for who you are, because not all of us got that. But then, everybody's journey is different. And I guess my time there was done.
Thank you for sharing that. And, because I do often think about this, I don't want anyone to believe that my experience will be theirs, because I do question the privilege that I had in, I was separate for so long that person then got to a space where maybe I could be this. Like I recognize that. At the same time, because there are other things, maybe not profession, although the day-to-day of our business, yes, when I stepped away in 2021, like you can feel when it's not aligned.
Right.
You can feel when the cord has gotten so tight that
it feels like
you have no. It really does, and you can't sacrifice yourself any longer.
Right.
And I think it's amazing that you made that step, and that the way that I view you right now, it's, oh gosh, I feel it. Sorry, this is what I do in sessions, but is like your arms are wide open. You are like taking in all of it and just like ready. It's the most beautiful thing.
And that's how I feel, is ready for everything. Like I said, I stay in this state of presence. I've given away all of the titles and the I am a mom, I am a podcast, no, I am this. No, I just am.
Oh, I understand that. Oh my gosh. So I love John Batiste.
Oh,
And when I first was introduced to him, I felt like I didn't understand this at first, but I felt something that was hard for me to describe. And I have seen him a few times in concert, and I finally had people around me who said, what you see in John Batiste is what people see in you. Oh. So you're actually reflecting, you're seeing a reflection of you, and that was so striking. So
we are a mirror.
It's amazing. And I went and met him in September, and I have had multiple experiences in my life, now 3 times, where I can recognize where I am literally changing. And I don't know what that means. Some people say that your reality shifting or your timeline shifting. I don't know, but I have changed. And I left that interaction. I felt it. I think he did as well. And I left it and said, I have gone from looking externally at who I was, like having the external world define me, to searching my inside to define me, to in September after leaving John Baptiste, I am. That's all. And you just said that. And I know exactly what that means. You just are. There's nothing else but that.
And that's all you need to be.
Yeah.
That's all that you need. That's all that you truly need. And and in that, there's a wholeness, there's peace, there's resonance, there's and definitely confirmation.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you are, then you move through the world. Like I move through the world with literal wonder because I'm just like a beacon in a way of me. And so I get to see what comes in, what happens, what exciting things I get to do, like talking with you. Like it's all just a complete adventure. And it doesn't mean that it is all easy. I have multiple friends going through very difficult times right now. And it doesn't mean it's easy. It means even that is the wonder of life. Even that, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Sara, in a recent speech, you said, if we want a world that is whole, we must first find the courage to be whole ourselves. That's a radical statement, especially for leaders who have been taught to oh, Jesus, come on, Jessica. Oh my God, I can't speak. Compartmentalize. There we go. What does it actually look like to bring your whole self into leadership? And did you have to release anything to do that?
Yes. I had moments of my childhood that were difficult, as many of us do. I would probably say most of us do in some ways. And my sister, sort of her mechanism was she turned to substances and has suffered with substance use disorder for about 35 years. And then I moved to the sort of overachievement lane, both of which are challenging. And I really did, so part of the separateness, I really did need to look at all of the ways, all the stories that I had told myself. I needed to write them down so that I could look at them from a different perspective and sort of move them out of my body. So I will say that I needed to do that. I'm a college dropout. I'm not smart. I used to drink too much in my 20s, and I did this and I did that. Like I needed to put it all somewhere so that it wasn't just lodged in my body. And to me, there are so many of us walking around this planet in the same space that I was, and it manifests differently for each of us, but in that separateness, so that we're looking outside of ourselves to fill ourselves. We're looking at our partners to fill us. We're looking at our job to fill us. We're looking at the person on the news to make us feel a little bit better and make us feel a little bit hopeful about all the things that we feel such angst about. And my belief is that most of the angst, suffering, sadness we carry is not external, but is actually internal. And that the more we dive deeply within ourselves to first identify all those separate parts and then pull them all together into one whole person. If you have leaders, and not just leaders, like I think we need everyone if we're all in an increased space of wholeness, I believe that the collective mirrors us as individuals. So what's hard is that the divisiveness and polarity that we see in the world is all a reflection of how we see ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really hopeful, actually, about the conversations that I have with people like you, with people in the community, with people who are sort of on this journey, because I have to believe that it means that we are getting to a space of more collective wholeness. But it's very easy to point fingers outside of you and to say the reason that we're in this sort of separate, divisive, unwhole place is because of that, and that. But in truth, it does nothing.
Right.
I don't believe we make progress until we turn the finger toward ourselves and start digging deep there.
I always say that we are a mirror for everybody. And when someone
Yeah.
comes to me and they say, well, this person triggers me or this triggers me or that, well, you know what? If you look at that person in front of you that's triggering you as a mirror, there's probably things about yourself that's bothering you.
Yes.
It's not really them.
Yes.
That's internal. And when
Yes.
you take that and flip it around and say, well, why does this trigger me so much? You usually, that starts a whole different healing process.
Totally. And I love, I think of us, our insides, I guess, as this just discovery that we're on. Like it's infinite to me. Because when I say that I'm sort of this like radar, I guess, like I'm like dee 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 dee, like I see what goes off in a positive way, what goes off in a negative way, and I get to sort of continue to excavate myself to learn more and more and more. And while I believe that we are all beautifully perfect in our imperfection, and that this journey is solely to just discover and experience it all. And it's such a beautiful space, even those triggers. So I love what you say, because I totally agree with you that they're all reflections for us. They're all opportunities for
Opportunities
us
for growth.
to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you went from running between field hockey games, community events, and speeches, achieving tremendous success, to publishing poetry, launching a podcast, and offering present sessions. How do you define success now? And what would you say to someone who's terrified that slowing down means losing everything that they've built?
Gosh, I know. Yeah, it's such a real fear.
Yes, it
Because
is.
our society tells us, this from Labor Day. You
Yes.
just went through this. Society tells us that there are certain metrics of success. And you, Jessica, have certainly illustrated for all of us that those metrics are just that. To me, they're societal architecture. They're a scaffolding that is not real.
Right.
Just like you could sort of build anything arbitrarily and decide that that's what we're all going to move towards. And the thing is that true success for me is now just being the absolute most of myself in every single moment, growing and becoming. Like becoming to me is success. And I will say that I used to tell myself, even the sort of volunteer work and making a difference in the community, all of that, even though it was beautiful and important and it was heart-led, it was also a metric of success for me. And I believe now that the more I am of myself, the greater my gift to the world. It may look slightly different than even though I do still serve on boards, but it may be different than my serving on a nonprofit board, but it is still an offering to the world. So my metric of success is the more I can both be myself and align myself with things that actually light me up, make me joyful, make me feel the beautiful energy that is offered to all of us, the more successful I am. And while I have not, I have not sold the house and sold the car and sold the business, or I haven't done that, because for me, just like you, it just pales in comparison. It just is. It is, but it pales in comparison to what I am and what we all are. So success to me is every single person in this universe being 100% themselves. There is no greater gift to this world.
That is beautiful and very beautiful, very, very beautifully said. Now, I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
Your Instagram, Dear Joy Love, has over 13,000 followers. What role does community play in this work of awakening? And how do you create space for authentic connection in a digital world that often feels so isolating?
Such a good question, because good or bad, this is the world that we live in. And so for me, I often think about technology, even artificial intelligence, through the lens of what is possible. And as I look at the last 5 years, my journey of awakening to a new part of myself, social media actually did play a big role in it, because I had access to people who enabled me to think differently. I could feel those with whom I resonated, those with whom I didn't. I sometimes would resonate with a spiritual teacher for a couple months and then not. But all of that was part of my journey. And for me, social media has been an amazing way for me to share all of the things that I know are not just mine. The words that come through, it almost feels awkward saying that they're mine, because they belong to all of us. And I truly believe that. So any of the thoughts that pop into my mind that I share on social media, the poetry, it is a way for us all to see ourselves. And I'm so honored for the reciprocity, the engagement back and forth with people, because we're all growing and learning. So on Dear Joy Love, being able to feel into the amazing people who may be touched by something, or me being touched by something of theirs, I think it's actually a beautiful space of possibility, as long as we allow it to be. It's very easy to sort of go down the road of it being a metric of measurement, and it being a metric of, this person has that and they're better, or this, it can be that, or it can be just a space where I connect with you, and I would never have been able to meet you otherwise. And to me, that is just absolute glory. I love it so, so much, because I'm so curious about people, as a reflection of just this world we live in. And so the more I get to engage, the more excited and grateful I become.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sara, this conversation, I felt it in my bones and the tears down my cheeks. The way you have woven presence, poetry, and purpose into a life that honors both the strategic and the sacred. It's a roadmap for so many of us who are trying to figure out how to be whole in a world that asks us to fragment ourselves. So thank you for your vulnerability, your wisdom, and for showing us what's possible when we have the courage to trust what's emerging through us. Thank you. This has been such a gift.
Thank you for all you share, Jessica. It's been a privilege.
For everyone listening, if Sara's story resonated with you, I want you to know you are not alone in this. Whatever is stirring in you right now, whatever messages you're receiving, whatever dream feels too big or too vulnerable to speak out loud, it's real, it's valid, and it is asking you to trust it. If you want to connect with Sara, you can find her on Instagram at Dear Joy Love, explore her poetry collections, Heart and Moon and Wise Stars, or visit her Substack, You Are All Extraordinary. And if you're feeling called to experience one of her presence sessions, I highly recommend it. This is deep, transformative work, and all of her links will be in the show's description. Now, if this is what I want you all to do. If this conversation stirred something in you, subscribe to the channel so you'll never miss our weekly soul-led conversations. Get notified because every Sunday we are gathering here to explore what it means to live authentically, lead with presence, and awaken to your fullest expression. And here's my question for you to sit with this week. What part of yourself have you been keeping separate? What would it feel like to bring your whole self, the polished and the undone, the strategic and the spiritual, into every room you enter? Drop your reflections in the comments because I read every single one, and this community is here to witness and support you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing this work. And remember, you are all extraordinary. Until next week, stay rooted, stay free, and keep awakening to your authentic self.